Hello, in this demonstration, I will be exploring a variety of drawing implements and tools just to create lines on a page. So I'm going to start with the most obvious, which would be, I'm going to start middle of the road, which is an HB pencil. And just going to start making lines. So I can hold it closer in and just use the tip. I'm going to get a more precise line. Okay, now I'm going to go to my B pencil, which it means base and is slightly softer. So in the middle is HB. If I go to the right, it goes 2B, 4B, 6B. It gets progressively softer. In the other direction towards the H, it gets progressively harder. So again, using the tip, slightly darker line. If I hold my pencil, I'm going to say this is overhand, I can get the flat of the pencil. So that's a variable. Another variable would be not just how I hold it, but the amount of pressure. So here I'm going to use a lot of pressure and then lighten up. A lot of pressure, lighten up. A lot of pressure, lighten up. So this is something to practice and test, because depending on what you're drawing, you might want to use the side of the pencil, the tip of the pencil, and vary the pressure. Okay, now I'm going to go to charcoal pencil, which comes in black and iron oxide, a whole range of natural colors. Again, starting with the tip, and then I think some are softer and some are harder, probably. Okay, so now same thing, more pressure, got this dark, rich, velvety line, and then less pressure. And then, of course, it makes a difference how sharp it is. Okay, now I'm going to use the side. I'm going to do that overhand move, holding it overhand, use the side. I get a wider line, and it kind of fuzzes out at the bottom. Again, playing with the more and less pressure all the way to the bottom of the page. Okay, now I'm just going to go on to, it's a dual tip brush. Pen, excuse me. Finer point at one end. So a pen will have usually, much depending on the tip, more precision, less variation. So think Sharpie, that's going to be a pretty graphic line. I wonder if I can go to the side. It doesn't do too much if I'm holding it to the side. Okay, the other end of this this pen has a brush tip. I think I got this in Japantown. This one, depending on pressure, I can vary the line. Using the tip, holding it straight up, got a really delicate line, but it's got some variation in thickness. Okay. So I'm just testing all these things out. I'm just going to use this Bic pen here. I can change it slightly with pressure, but not a whole lot. Okay, now on to the messy stuff. There's vine charcoal, which is compressed wood. And the vine charcoal, or burnt wood, excuse me, still waking up here. The vine charcoal has kind of a softer look. It's not It's not super black. You can use the side of it. It's great for filling in the background or surrounding areas of a drawing. I'm using the side of it now. Okay, now the blending stump, which is basically just a rolled up, probably newspaper, I can use that to smear and blend the charcoal. So my finger doesn't get so messy. Okay, now there's the compressed charcoal, which is burnt wood, but it's very dense, and it's going to offer a rich, velvety black line. Here again, I'm playing with the pressure. I'm going to do a bunch of these so that I can show you how to blend them with the blending stump. It has some sharp angles, so I could use the tip of one of those angles. And if you needed to cover a broader surface, you would just use the entire flat side of the vine charcoal to fill in a broad area. Okay, so there's the compressed charcoal. Then I take my blending stump. This is very satisfying. And I can smooth that out so it's a little bit more even. This is going to be useful when we get into drawing value shading. Okay, so that's using the blending stump. What if I do lines? We've done additive, but what if I do subtractive? So here's the kneaded eraser, which is great. You pick up the charcoal with it, and then I can just fold it back on itself to absorb what I've erased. And the kneaded eraser is really good for pulling out larger shapes, blocking out larger areas. Okay, but it's not as precise as, here's the art gum eraser. Here, I'll go down here. And this is great because I can even break off bits of the eraser, or sometimes I cut them with an X-Acto knife, and then I get this precise edge. Okay, and then there's the Mars plastic eraser, which is the hardest eraser of all. And I should get a much more defined line with that one. Also really good if you're doing things like drafting. So erasers can be used to block out shapes, and they're sort of the cleanup crew at the end of the process. If there's any extraneous lines you don't want to see, you're going to clean them up with your erasers. This is not working as well as I had hoped. I wanted to see a sharper line. Hang on. If I go this way, here we go, and use the tip. I wanted all my lines going across, but now I'm going to do them this way so you can really see how that carves through. Here's the gum eraser carving through. And I recommend tapping your eraser bits and charcoal off to the side. I don't really want to blow when it comes to charcoal. All that dust goes into the air. Okay. Let me do a tad bit more with the vine charcoal and the kneaded eraser. Yeah, this is good for pulling out larger areas or shapes. Okay, now Another thing you can do with charcoal is if I get a damp brush and add water, it becomes a paint. So you could block out a whole area, and then if you wanted it to be much sharper, crisper, you could come in with a damp brush. Very satisfying. Okay, so India ink, this is the last thing I'm going to use. It actually has charcoal in it. It's just liquefied. And this offers a different type of line. Again, I can play with the pressure, more pressure, less, to achieve all these different lines. And as we go along, we'll be talking about what line would be maybe appropriate for the feeling of a drawing or a specific object. And the variable with the brush is the amount of paint and pressure and where you hold the brush. So if I'm going upright, I should get a finer line. Holding it down, more pressure, I'll get a fatter line. And that is it for lines on a page.